So in instances like that, we look to go out to seek help. But of course, there have been inconsistencies recently that has been playing out in the world. Therefore, even as the United States has brought this back up, I'm particularly not excited, because what it then means that there is some kind of game that is going on, depending whether it's the Democrats or the conservatives that are in power. Something might be started, and if they do lose elections, then the opposite happens. This, two extremes that we have to deal with. One of the questions we want to ask is, what was the reason why the President Biden's administration what was the reason for removing Nigeria as a country of particular interest at the time that they did? At the time that pregnant women were being slaughtered with their babies brought out of their tummies and their bellies, and pictures and videos were everywhere to be seen. Social media did at that time even begin to, censor some of the, videos and posts about these things. It's just with the recent revelation of how the United States of America have been involved through USAID in, promoting and sponsoring Boko Haram, it paints a clearer picture of the reason why Nigeria was removed from that designation. It paints a clear picture of why Nigeria was taken off from the, countries of particular concern. Because, of course, we all know that the first tenure of Donald Trump, all of the wars in the world just seemed to stop. Terrorism was almost silent. The so-called ISIS or ISIL, because during Barack Obama's time, their name just kept changing. Sometimes they were called ISIS and ISIL for whatever reason, I don't know. Suddenly just disappeared from the surface. And then they started having a voice again when Biden came into power. So it doesn't take a rocket science to fill in the gaps, to understand what is going on. However, as a Nigerian, my biggest concern is if America were to make the Nigerian government to act in a way that will, address this issue of killing of Christians in Nigeria. What powers, what are the tools that they have at their disposal to get these people in government to act right? Sanctions. What kind of sanctions are they going to impose? Because depending on the kind of sanctions that they place, it would still be the people, the ordinary people, the same people they're trying to fight for and stand up for, will still be the people suffering the brunt of it. If it's going to be economic sanction, is this going to be what kind of sanction exactly? Because the people who are trying to encourage President Trump to consider placing sanctions on Nigeria, have they also considered the sort of sanctions that might be placed on Nigeria that doesn't destroy the economy of the country, that doesn't destabilize the country even further? And as ordinary people, we always will think that we perhaps can give an advice that we think will be an effective way of dealing with this situation. In trying not to point fingers or blame anybody, we will naturally just put the blame on the leadership of the country at the time. And at the time, the president was President Muhammadu Buhari. However, the current president of Nigeria was a close ally of President Muhammadu Buhari. Most of the ministers, most of the people in government at that time are still very relevant in the scope of governance in Nigeria today. So, if truly these steps that are to be taken are for the sake of the ordinary people in Nigeria, for the sake of protecting the Christians of Nigeria, or bringing fairness, equity and justice to the people, ordinary people of Nigeria, if that is the absolute reason for these steps that they are suggesting to proffer as solutions to make the government act right,